So it's just a no-brainer. It is worth it. It is worth the relationships. It's worth the time, and you'll reap dividends. My name is Paula, and I'm with Epitome Tax, and I've been going right at 13 years. We're down here in Houston, Texas.
Prior to joining the Service Bureau Accelerator, actually, I believe you already were sort of a service bureau. So usually the question I ask is, how familiar were you with it? Have you looked into it in the past? Why don't you talk a little bit about what you were doing before you joined the program?
Yeah, so, we had the tax office out here, and we had multiple products going through. And 2 years ago, I knew that, the way to be able to expand was to start the Service Bureau. So before we got with you guys, we had 1 year in. We started the Service Bureau. I had 2 offices that joined during that year. And we were really novices, but, wanted just to take that leap of faith. So when you approached us, we were already ready to continue to expand and to just, we were just ready for something different.
A lot of stuff. But I remember when we did our call, I looked at the deal you had in place, the amount of money you were paying every year for your service bureau, and then the numbers, I was like, yeah, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. We want to talk a little bit about that. You don't have to get too detailed, but talk a little bit about the prior experience with the company you were working with. You don't have to mention their names, of course not. But just kind of like the difference between how you were set up before as a service bureau, quote unquote service bureau, to how you are now.
Yeah, so with that company, we were paying a licensing fee for every software that we had. And so, of course, we had to, mark it up every time we were doing software. They were getting a percentage of the fees. We were getting a percentage of the fees. And oddly enough, it wasn't the actual price, even though it wasn't the best deal. It wasn't the price that sold me. It was the customer service and the all-inclusive tech support. And, of course, I'd worked with you guys before. And so I just would rather work with people I trust and who I knew had my best interests.
Awesome. In joining the Service Bureau Accelerator, you saw our presentation, what were your first thoughts when you looked at it? What really made you interested in joining, aside from working with us in the past and knowing what you know about us? What were some things that stuck out to you?
A few things, but I don't want you to overlook that knowing and having worked with you guys in the past, it does make a difference. So don't underestimate what you bring to the table in terms of the ability to not only know that you all work with integrity, that you have the best interest of your sub offices, but just that you're good guys. And so, that is a big deal when you're doing business with somebody. That know, like, and trust factor, it does make a difference. And so beyond that, in the presentation, I really felt like, even if I didn't know you guys or hadn't worked with you guys in the past, I really felt like you were growing and really truly cared about the sub offices that were under you, because the way you had organized the packages and the deals, and because I had the prior experience, I knew that you were putting those offices first, and not just the dollar first, but making sure that everyone was knowledgeable and understood what they needed to do and the exact steps they needed to follow to be successful in their own right. And that you understood that their success meant your success. And so I found that very valuable, not just in the prior relationship, but in watching how you treated others.
Interesting that you brought that up, because one of the reasons we started this was I just saw a lot of people out there with, for lack of better words, garbage deals being taken advantage of. So I was like, well, if we're going to do this, we have the capability, the relationships, and everything to set this up right. Let's make sure everyone gets a deal that makes sense for them, right? That was actually something we consciously did before we launched it. How do we make it so that you guys can make the most money possible?
And that was very evident.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people, it's funny because after the fact in the groups and stuff, we'll talk about the groups here in a bit, the groups and stuff, people are like, wait, I didn't realize we got this. Yes, that was part of it. And part of the part of the presentation is there's overwhelm, hey, all this information. So how do we break it down very simple for people to take? But I appreciate that feedback. That's really interesting that you picked up on that. You want to share a bit about, the types of packages or offers you may have put together, or anything that you use out of the training that you felt was beneficial for you?
Yeah, and this is a really important part because, as I said, I've been in the business a long time. And so, I know the tax business, I know operations, and even coming in, there were still things that I didn't know and that I had the ability to learn, even with the prior experience. And so, at first, I was focused on software, right? Software. And after going through your training and looking at all of the other ways, a tax academy and partnerships, and really learning how to segment the audiences that I was going after, I got all of that from the program. And so not only did I get it, but had the ability to kind of digest it at my own pace, and then to use those videos one by one at my own pace and to apply them. So having the ability to have multiple options to be able to have a revenue stream, to me, was really impressive. And that really was good for me. And so I took advantage of the academy and did, the tax school, the tax academy, mostly focused on new preparers. And that was awesome. And so I was able to get 5 new tax offices in a very short amount of time, and then 3 new tax preparers that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise to be able to come and work for me. And so that was a great opportunity before the tax season even happened to already have a revenue stream from having that tax academy.
People do that, but how did you go about tackling? Because I remember you had submitted a bunch of presentations to us asking for feedback. So
Yes.
Curious how that process was for you.
Yeah, and so that's the great thing about the program. You all really do over deliver. So, in the videos, there's examples, but, raw showing up once a week or sometimes twice a week, sometimes, demoing the exact same lesson, but in a different way, was awesome. And so even when I could not make those meetings, I took advantage of the recordings to actually look at those packages and to really follow the plan, to say, okay, this is how it should be presented. And then of course I made it my own. But the great part is that you all were still there to be able to give that kind of professional development and the feedback. So in taking what you learned, putting my own, touch on it and how I plan to deliver it, my own spin, to still be able to get that feedback from you on ways to improve it was really important and really valuable, and quite frankly, beyond a traditional academy. So you didn't just deliver it, but you really stuck with us to make sure we have what we need to be as successful as possible in how we presented ourselves to our prospects.
Yeah, that wasn't part of the selling points. That was just something.
But we appreciate it.
So what are some of the lessons learned and what you're planning for next year?
Wow. So for me, what I'm most excited about is that the blueprint is tried and true. And so even in the areas that I could have done better, that I could have been faster, that I could have, marketed differently, the blueprint works, and that I just have to perfect it, and it'll work next year and it'll work the year after that. And so my goal is to start earlier, but to really take what I've learned and to execute it. And I think that's what's really awesome about the program. It's not a gimmick. It's not a get, rich quick scheme. The principles, whether it's the marketing or, targeting the right audience, it's tried and true. And so my plan is just to replicate the system and, to do it better and to do it faster and to do it earlier, so that, 5 offices is, 10 offices. My goal is 40. And so my goal is to do whatever it takes to get to 40 as quickly as possible.
So we have, as you are part of, a Facebook group community that's the first in existence where there's service bureaus in one group talking to each other. It's never been done before. People said we were crazy to do it. But that being said, we did it anyway. And I just want to get your feedback. Has the community been helpful at all? Do you feel that that's beneficial for you?
Absolutely. And so, I've been around the block, and the bottom line is taxes is a cutthroat business. It is a cutthroat business. There's so much competition out there, whether you're doing it locally or virtually. It's just a very busy and competitive time. And so I've been in a lot of groups, whether they're accounting groups or, people just getting the business, but having a group of like-minded people that is open and willing to share, and we're all working toward the same goal of, being the master of our own mountain. And we're not in conflict or competition with each other. was really awesome. Everyone has been very open. And I think that's, again, because you set that stage, and because you all at SBA, because you're not selfish with your information, and because of course every business wants to be profitable, but because you demonstrate that you care for those offices and all of us that are under you, I really believe that culture just trickles down, and that you draw people that are like-minded. And so I think the community has been awesome, and just having them as a resource. And I'm intentional about contributing because of how much I've gotten out of it. So even in the, when you're watching things being posted, you may be silent, but I've gotten feedback from others that they're watching and they're sharing and that they're using that information. And so just having that ability to share and learn from others has been a great resource.
Awesome. Any feedback or comments you would give to anyone that's looking at joining the Service Bureau Accelerator program?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think that it is a no-brainer. It is an investment in yourself, and it is investment in your business, whether you're in the tax business. The things that I've learned about marketing and the support I've received, I'll always have that. I'll always know how to do a Facebook ad, even better now than I've ever done before. So I definitely think it's a worthwhile investment, and you make your dollar back very quickly if you do the work. So it's just a no-brainer. It is worth it. It is worth the relationships. It's worth the time, and you'll reap dividends.